So for this first video, we are doing cherry blossoms, and I will be dominantly using the Princeton Velvet Touch number 4. Now, the reason we're using the Princeton Velvet Touch number 4, A, because cherry blossoms are smaller, B, because you need to get those nice little fine lines for the center, and the Velvet Touch number 4 is an amazing brush for doing both. And the Princeton number 6 is also a great brush. However, the reason it's not my first brush of choice for this is mainly because the fine pointed tip isn't as fine as the number 4. And especially if you are a beginner and you don't really have your brush control under control, yeah, use that control word twice, then you'll find it hard to get those nice fine lines in the center of our cherry blossoms. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's just get into mixing some color. For the cherry blossoms, I would like to use a Quin Rose, and I have that right here. And I'm going to mix some of that color on here. It's this beautiful, gorgeous pink. Just look at that color. And we want to water it down to make it really watery. So notice how much color I got, and notice how much I am mixing to get it really diluted and light. Okay, so once we have this, we're going to use, we've mixed it up with the number 4, so we're ready to go. We're going to create our 5 petals, and it's a very basic, simple, repetitive action or brush stroke. Okay, so making sure that our brush is nice and full of color, we're going to go ahead and create 5 little dots. And this simply helps you to keep that center open. Then taking water, we're going to go ahead, like the mixed color that is, we're going to go ahead, start with 1 dot, press down, trail out, close it up like that. And you want to push all the color to the center, okay? You can also dip your brush in water right now because I like different variations of color within my flower and the petals. So I'm just going to go ahead and create another one. We're going to go ahead and do another one here. And then another one here. Notice how uneven my sizing is, also the spacing and whatnot, but we want to keep this loose and fun. So there we go. We've got our simple flower for cherry blossoms, pushing all the color down to the center. Now I'm going to get a little bit more water on my brush, water this down some more, maybe even get a little bit of a different color, like a different pinkish color, just to get a variation. I love variations. I know I said one color, but here you go. Here's another one. Making sure we've got enough water. Same idea. Let's create another cherry blossom. This time I'm doing it without my 5 dots in the center. But if you are more comfortable making sure you've got your 5 dots to keep that center open, do the 5 dots. It's definitely a helpful trick. So I've got 2 here. What I'm going to do now at this point is get some of the color directly from the color cake on the tip of my brush, and making sure that our flower is not dried up completely. I'm going to dab right in the center this way. And this is what gives us a beautiful soft bloom in our flower. You'll notice the bloom is probably a little easier on my second flower, and that's simply because it's the last one that I painted. This one dried up just a tad bit. So it's really, timing matters. Timing matters in terms of when you add the color. Okay, so at this point, if you feel like you need to mix a little bit of color and get some more flow happening, you can just take your brush, push down color towards the center. That's something I wanted to do for this flower. You might even want to extend color outward, in which case you can just start from the center and pull outwards. It's really a preference thing. Remember, guys, this is a loose style of painting, so just go with the flow. Learn these techniques that I'm showing you to paint these specific flowers, but you can also use these same techniques and enhance and create other flowers. So let's just do one more flower before we move on. So I'm going to do a third one over here. And this one's going to have one of the petals slightly curved upward, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So we do our two basic ones. Again, you know what? I'm just going to make my little dots here just so it's easier on you guys. And then one more. And then I should have probably made the curved petal over here, but that's okay. And then we're just going to do something like this. So all I did was do a little stroke like that. Simple enough, right? I'm going to show this stroke to you on another sheet of paper just so it's more clear. So the stroke we're looking for our side stroke is something like this. And I made it dark just so you can see exactly what I'm aiming for. I have some color on here already, so I'm just going to use that to do our center. And now because this one is like a flip, I'm just doing a little bit of a dotted line right in the front of it so it doesn't get directly onto it. All right, now again, with the bleeding, if you feel like you need to swipe off some color, swipe it off, make sure you have some paper towel handy on the side and just dab it onto your paper towel. That's all you're doing. Same thing over here. If you need to kind of swipe off how this color is moving around, now's the perfect time while it is damp. You want to enhance the darkness of your center. Go back in and add more of the pink. We're keeping this simple. We're keeping this fun and loose. You can also dab after it's dried, but that's essentially wet on dry as opposed to wet on wet. So if you like that look better, absolutely wait for it to dry and then go in. I love the wet on wet look. I think it's so seamless and pretty, and that's why I do what I do. Or that's why I do this move when I do it. Okay, so let's do the last thing, which is doing a couple of buds. But the buds are super fun and easy. All we're doing is, let's do a couple of buds over on this side. We're just doing that. That's all we're doing. And that's an easy enough bud. Let's do another one over here. You can do a couple of them together. I'll leave that up to you guys. I'm just placing mine where I feel they should go. And probably shouldn't have done it right below the flower, but we're going with the flow. Let's just see where this takes us. Last but not least, if you would like to, you can do a splatter. So all I'm doing is getting a lot of water on my brush, and then I am doing this. This kind of gives it that beautiful, whimsical look. Another great move to your florals. Last but not least, we are going to be painting the branches. And for that, I'm going to use some of my, wait for it, burnt brown, which is right here, I think. Sometimes it's hard to tell. This looks more like a green. But then again, I mix a lot of my dark, bright greens with the brown to get some nice color. So it's probably just a matter of washing it away. Yeah, there we go. That's the brown we're looking for. I'm going to get some of that, and using the fine tip of my brush, we're going to start doing these branches. And the branches are very, not flowy, but they're very kind of thick and awkwardish. So feel free to kind of extend and create without giving it any flow. Is flow the right word? Without giving it any sort of, I guess, whimsical look. So here we go. Let's do this flower extending onto another branch. I'm going to do that. Something like that. We're just kind of connecting the dots at this point. This one kind of is a lone wolf here as well. So let's just do another one here. So clearly I really went with the flow and I didn't really plan to see where things were going to be. But sometimes this is how you paint. This is how you learn. This is how you train your brain to kind of really go with the flow and figure out how to position things in your paintings. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, you might find it very, very helpful. Okay, now we got some at the top. So we're just going to finish this. And you want to give the buds a little bit of that triangle look at the bottom to kind of indicate that it's being held. And then let's just do a couple more bud-like elements here. All right, so now let's do the center of our flowers. So once again, this requires a lot of brush control, and the number 4 is perfect for this. However, if you are brand new and a beginner, I would suggest going for something a lot thinner. And I'm trying to look for my number 1 brush, or even a 0. So Princeton Heritage 0 works great. So what I'm doing is dampening my brush, and I'm just going to use this or add this brush to this video for people who have never, not never done watercolor, but haven't quite mastered the skill of brush control just yet. So we've got some pink. Feel free to mix it in with a tinge of brown. That's all I took to get that darker reddish tone. And then using this brush, we're going to go ahead and lightly paint in little lines into the center. And then we're doing dots. And you don't need to be specific about how many lines, how tall, all that stuff. We just need a very loose rendition of that. I'm even going to get a little bit extra brown and add that to the dots just so that they stand out a bit more. Really gives it such a beautiful pop, and your eye immediately, or the viewer's eye immediately alerts them, okay, those are cherry blossoms. Pretty, right? All right, so we're going to continue creating more of that over here. And if you don't want to use the dark tone for your little dots, that's okay. I'm going to have just a little bit. Use your creative judgment. I'm giving you options and ideas on how to build up, and so you run with that. I've even enhanced some of these dark lines in there because it looked like they were drying up to look almost pretty similar to the center. And then last but not least, one more over here. I'm going to get some of that brown and drop that in. And voila, we are done our cherry blossoms. Simple, cute, easy enough, filled with lots of techniques that you can use with other elements.